guys, it is day 3 and we have a fun one. It's the Power Running Man. Essentially, it's kind of, like what we've been going over the past couple of days, the Running Man, except this time it's just accentuated to make it look bigger, more powerful, more impactful. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes a small running man can be really impactful. But essentially, what we're going to be doing is lengthening the stride of our running man a lot more and trying to get our knees really high. This can be quite a learning curve, especially if you're still trying to get the regular RM down. So be patient with yourselves, give yourselves some compassion and some grace, and just do the best that you can. There's really some nuance to this, so I'm going to break it down for you guys. I'll give you an example of what it looks like. Okay, so we all know the regular running man, right? The cadence is the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we're repeating those steps, which is pretty basic, pretty simple. Where this is going to get a little bit more intense, obviously the stamina is going to come into factor. It really pushes your stamina and your cardiovascular. So that can be challenging because what we're really trying to do is we're trying to get these really long strides, right? And I think it was actually Sierra Castro that gave me this tip in one of her classes. So if you like the Power Running Man, definitely check her out. She is a phenomenal dancer and instructor. But when you're kind of in this position, you're thinking of it as a lunge, right? So you can keep your back leg straight, but you can also keep it bent. And that helps you get a little bit lower in this pose as well. And then when you're coming up, you're really thinking about driving your back leg up as kind of high as you can with as much momentum as you can. So you're driving this back leg up, and then you're kind of allowing yourself to drop down and use that height to just really drop and let your back leg kind of come out, fall out behind you. And again, it's powerful up and then kind of just a drop on the down. So I think this is different than how a lot of people tend to think about it, because a lot of people think, oh, I need to stomp really hard, right? And they end up kind of plowing their foot into the ground. That's not really the best way to do it, in my opinion. It kind of makes it look a little bit more forced, if that makes sense. Maybe a little bit more clunky, rather than just really being up here high, nice and high, right? And like allowing yourself to drop. That drop really conserves a lot of energy and just makes it look pretty clean. So that's kind of the premise of it. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask. But this is going to be especially good on, after like a long buildup or just a buildup when you feel a drop coming on, to really make a drastic change in the speed and the intensity of your movement. Say you're kind of going soft and small, and then all of a sudden you explode, into a big running man. That makes a big impact on your viewer. So it's really good for times like that, and it creates a lot of variation in your flow, right? If you've mostly just been doing the small running man most of your run, then throwing in a big running man is going to make a statement, and it's going to look really cool. So if you're kind of familiar with the running man and maybe even the power running man, there are a few other things that you can do to add a little bit more spice and maybe a little bit more detail into your running man. Even if you're a beginner, if you want to give this a try, that's great. I highly encourage it. But like I said, just have a lot of compassion for yourselves, because these things don't happen overnight, and they often don't come very easily as well. So, one of the things that you can do is play with your foot placement. So, I think it's most common to kind of land on maybe like the ball of your foot, like right here. And that will give your running man a certain kind of look and style. You can play with kind of the bounce if you want to bounce up on the ball of your foot. It gives you like a little bit extra spring, I think. I just lisped a little bit. um, but another way to do it, and this one to me is a little bit harder. I know when I was trying to learn this way, it's more of a moss running man. You're coming down on your heel. So that was a big adjustment for me. And it took me probably like I want to say like 6 months. So feel like I really had this down. But yeah, so when you're doing your running man, you're just kind of maybe angling your toe up a little bit more and coming down on your heel instead of, going up on your toes. So I don't know if you guys can see the difference in that as I do it at all. Like I said, it's a minute thing, but it definitely adds a little bit of detail to your running man. So, another thing that you can play with, because we don't want to leave out our upper body. This is a full body dance, even though it's a footwork based and focused style. The whole body unity is really important. So, when we're doing our running man, we want to think of what are my arms doing? What's my upper body doing? And how can it complement what my legs and my lower body is doing? I think we talked about arms yesterday, but usually some big, like kind of aggressive arms. Arm swings are good. And that helps you get your shoulders into it a little bit too. So it's like, kind of popping out and pulling your arms with it. And also play with the position of your torso. You can be very upright, which is what we think of when we're doing our small running man for sure. Oftentimes, getting a little bit low and adding a little bit of a crouch can just add a little bit of sauce to your big running man, your power running man, because it adds a little bit more of an aggressive kind of look or flavor to your running man. So say I'm, upright. This is cool. This is awesome. But if I'm crouching and I'm like coming at you like that, a little bit different, right? A little bit different. So it's things like that that you can play with to put a little bit more detail if you feel like you want a challenge, and that's totally up to you. All right, guys. So that was it for the Power Running Man. Really hope that was helpful and added some value. Tomorrow we're going to be doing our first flow day. We're going to be playing with the concept of pauses and adding pauses into your flow. So it's going to be really fun. It's going to be really different. Hope you guys stay tuned for that, and we'll see you tomorrow.